Hi there, this is Alana from Red Angus. I handle the submissions of DNA. I put this PowerPoint together to hopefully clear up some questions you may have and kind of streamline the process for your DNA. This first one goes over your DNA department. So at the very top, it's Miss Halla. She is the manager of memberships and DNA programs. She oversees the department. Fallon, on your left-hand side, she is the DNA programs coordinator, and she handles mostly the results side. And then myself, Alana, I am a DNA customer service specialist. I handle most of or all of the submissions here at Red Angus. The first slide I put together is one of my most commonly asked questions. What's the difference between a GGP test and parentage or defect testing? The biggest difference is that a GGP test, you have to have the animal registered. We have to be able to attach the genomically enhanced data to something, which would be that registration number. Another couple differences between the GGP testing is some of the tests include two defects. So that's going to be our LD and our HD. They both include OS testing and MA. Our ULD is the only genomically enhanced test that we do not offer a defect with. Granted, you can add them on if you would like to. Also, when you submit for a GGP test, some of the defects that we have come at a discounted price. A good example of that is our NH test. The standalone amount is $20. If you add it onto your GGP, it's $10. So if your animal is not registered yet, you can still do parentage to identify what sire or dam the animal came out of. Also, you can do some defect testing and see if it has OS or MA or anything like that. If you want to test for a defect, you can write that in the genetic defect column and you can abbreviate that such as OS. This next slide is our ULD. It's going to be our lowest marker test. It's still extremely accurate. It's $34. It includes genomic EPD enhancement and parentage. It's good for replacement heifers as well. Not saying that you can't utilize this test for other animals. It's just a good way to kind of figure out maybe what test works best for you in your operation. The next step up is the LD. It's a $48 test. It includes genomic EPD enhancement, parentage, OS, and MA testing. It has fewer markers than the HD, but it's still extremely accurate. It's a good middle of the road test. It's recommended for AI sires and donor dams. The highest marker test that we offer is a high density test. It includes the genomic EPD enhancement, parentage, OS, and MA testing. It just compares to more markers than our LD test. It's really good for high impact AI sires and high impact donor dams or dams that you're constantly flushing otherwise. I get this question a lot. Why do we bring samples in-house? The first one is sample quality. I have a chance to look at your sample and see if it fits some of the lab requirements. If it doesn't, I will contact you and give you an opportunity to submit a different sample. Also, the information affirmation. I can look in our system and make sure that all the data that you've entered on your GeneSeq order form matches what is actually in the system. It decreases time at the lab as well. I put everything in order, I get everything good to go, make sure it's easy for the lab, so when it arrives at the lab, it goes straight into processing. We take out that step at the lab where they have to go through it. I do that all in-house. It also includes a streamlined conversation, so I can talk directly to you. If there's an issue with your sample, you're going to hear from me. You're not going to hear from the lab or have the lab contact me and then I contact you. It's going to come directly from me. And also we can update the pedigrees as soon as we get the results in. So that way you don't have to do that. Fallon handles most of that, and that will come in a later PowerPoint, and she'll go a little bit more into depth about how to do that. But that's something that we can do in-house. A couple member perks that you have. We provide hair and blood cards free to members. You can either call and order them, or you can email us. Either way is fine. I also have additional information for first-time DNAers. I have, your checklist, and it goes through, did you select a test? Did you sign? All of that good stuff, and how a good sample should look. I send out an order form with every test kit unless you tell me not to. That way you can have it for your own use if you need to copy it or whatnot. There's also a brief checklist that goes out with each one, just kind of reminding you of a few things that I do see coming into office that are sometimes forgot because it's easy to forget. Also, we can correct the pedigrees, like I mentioned before. Fallon handles all of that, but it kind of streamlines that process for you. And then it also gives availability of lab reps for information. So it opens up more time for them to be able to help and streamline that information to you. This is an example of the DNA checklist I send out. It covers, did you write your member number? Did you sign the form? Did you select a test? One thing I would really like to point out here is that you can use the report DNA Submit to help you. It literally pulls everything out of our system for the animal you've entered, and you can copy and paste that into your GeneSeek document. So when might you have to pay a fee? The biggest thing is if you have an order of over 35 animals and an electronic version is not sent to us. I understand that some folks get kind of confused that, they put it in the electronic sheet, print it out, and send it. I need that actually emailed to me as well. Another time is if your hair cards are not carded, they're just sent in a plastic baggie or in an envelope. I need to have those cards or the hair carded. Also, if the hair is not trimmed, if there's hair, flowing out of the side of the card, that needs to be trimmed. And another one is when cards are taped, whether it's blood or hair. The lab has to be able to have those cards opened so they can actually test the sample in it. So taping them is actually a hindrance more than it's helping. Another thing is when you have a large order, over 35 plus animals, and the hair or blood cards are not in order, it makes your DNA stay a littler amount of time here if they're all in order. And I can get it checked in, make sure everything's accurate, and out the door. This fee is a $25 per hour fee. And I will always contact you beforehand. I'll either call you or email you and make sure that you know that this fee is there, that there's an issue with your order. The first time I can send it back to you, if it comes back to me in the same way, then that fee will already apply. Another question I get is, how do I send semen in? The best thing to use is get a cheap Bic pen. You'll remove the ink, put the semen straw into the pen, put the cap back on. I still recommend sending it in a padded envelope or another box to protect it from the mail service. You can also order TSU kits from us. They are $23.80 per box, which works out to $2.38 per TSU because there's 10 in a box. The applicator is $40, and it ships from the Allflex plant in Texas. Shipping costs generally vary between $13 and $16. You must have a physical address to ship to as well. You don't have to buy TSUs from us. We get that question quite a bit. If you have a lab rep that you like working with and they provide you with TSUs, you are more than welcome to get that from them. This next slide goes over things that might be an issue with your TSU order that I might contact you about. So you can see over here that the red stopper is pushed all the way through. There's no fluid in the TSU, and there's hardly a sample that you can see. Other issues include tattoo ink, dirt and debris, excessive blood, foreign objects, small samples, hair coming out the top, or a cracked TSU. All of those will probably warrant a phone call from me saying, hey, this sample isn't the best. Would you like to submit another one? If it goes to the lab and it fails at the lab, then it is up to you to collect another sample and submit it back to us and to pay for that testing again. This next slide shows a really good TSU. The red stopper is in place. You can see the tissue. The green ball is at the bottom, and there's fluid in the TSU. If you ever have a question about your TSU or you're wondering if you should submit it or not, feel free to give us a call. I get a lot of questions about how to use the electronic form or just how to fill out the GeneSeek order form in general. So the first arrow that you're going to see is pointing out the testing options. Make sure you select a test, whether you need a genetic defect test or you need an LD test or whatever you may need. As you can see at the very top, the first animal is getting tested for OS and MA. The second animal is getting tested for just OS, and the rest of the animals are getting submitted for an LD test. If you're ordering an LD or an HD, you don't have to write in the genetic defects of OS and MA because those are included in your test. Now, if you want to add another one, like such as DD, then you could write it in there. So if you have questions about how to fill out the order form or if you're writing things incorrectly, feel free to give me a call. I'm happy to walk through it with you. This next one covers how to actually put it on the form. So you can see that the TSU box starts with 773. That's the first TSU that is on the order form. They go in numerical order, and that's the biggest thing. So I can scan them, more efficiently and make sure that your order is ready to go. The IDs need to be in the TSU box. That is the most helpful thing, so I can make sure that you realize that the animal that you actually took the sample from is the animal that you put in on the sheet. If you don't need to use a TSU, let's say 777 ended up, passing away before you submitted the DNA, you can just X out the box. So that way I know that that we're going from 776 to 778. The cardboard that you see over on the right, the little barcodes on the side, that is the easiest way for me to scan things in. So if you can include that, that is excellent. I understand if you can't. But it does make the scanning part of it much more efficient for yourself and for myself. I have seen when people only need to submit like 5 TSUs, they'll cut the box and then put maybe some paper towel in there to kind of pad it to fill the extra space that's in there, and then submit it like that. If you have TSUs that you have not used, go ahead and keep them and use them for yourself. You don't have to send the entire box of 10 in when you've only actually sampled 5 animals. The next part of this kind of goes over some hair and blood card submissions. This first one you're going to see will point down to the blood card. This is a really good submission of blood. That's how it should look. It's not watery. It's not outside of the line. There's plenty of it for the lab to test. The next one you're going to see has very few follicles. You can't really see any bulbs there. And if you can't see the bulbs with your naked eye, that's kind of an indicator that maybe your sample isn't the best sample and maybe you should get another one. The second one, the hair is actually cut. So there is no bulb there. It was just purely trimmed off the tail with some scissors. And the third one is the correct way to submit your hair. It has bulbs that you can visibly see, and it is on the card. Another huge thing is that do not submit blood on hair cards or hair on blood cards. There's absolutely no way for the lab to test that. If you're going to submit blood, it needs to be on a blood card. If you need to submit hair, it needs to be on a hair card. If you ever need cards overnighted, please let us know. We can go over the details of that then. They just need to be on the correct card for the lab. If they are not, then it gets rejected right here in the office and it will not go to the lab. So if you have any more questions, feel free to give us a call. The DNA General Questions line is extension 8. You can call myself at extension 14 if you have submission questions, or you can call Fallon if you have some results questions at extension 7. You're always welcome to email us at DNA@Red Angus as well. I hope this was informative. If you have any more questions, like I said, go ahead and give us a call, and I hope you have a great day.